Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to look at the Dragonriders of Pern, the whole series by Anne McCaffrey. Um, there's a lot of books in here, and I'm going to try to keep the overall review short, the overall span of it, and the review, the rating, I guess, on the shorter side. Because there are a lot of books, and I don't want to go through each one individually. You can go back and check the individual videos, because I did do all the short stories as well as the novels. So basically all of Pern was covered here. I will say this, that the first and the ninth pass books bookend it very nicely if you read it chronologically. It's kind of how I would recommend doing it, because it's going to be hard kind of bouncing back and forth, though. In the third pass books, you will do that. And before I get into that, as always, I just ask that you please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, leave a comment down below, and spread the word. So, okay, back into this. I really liked the first pass books, The Settling of Pern. That was very much sci-fi, and I never really delved into the sci-fi thing really much before this. I was always more, if I was leaning more at fantasy sci-fi, I was more always toward fantasy. But I just found the first pass books interesting, and that they find this lush new world, and everything seems to be so great, and then Thread falls and basically takes out all vegetation, all life, all that stuff. And it's just like, okay, now what are they going to do? And everybody's got a fire lizard. And everybody knows fire lizards basically try to protect, and they can char flame. So they engineer dragons, which are bigger versions, really, of fire dragons, but they look different. They're sort of like Earth's mythical dragons, if you will. As in the picture, as you can see. With that, the dragons have a second stomach, and that's what they chew. They chew the firestone, and it goes into their second stomach. And once it's in that second stomach, then they belch out fire, and they flame Thread, so Thread doesn't get to the ground. They also have these grubs that are slowly settling through the land, so if Thread does get through and burrows, because usually if Thread gets through and it burrows in fast, and it just starts to eat everything and chars everything. Anything but metal, water, and it's not it, really. I mean, it can take out wood and grass, and it's just there are certain things that it's basically it can't do. Fire destroys it, water drowns it, and metal it can't burn through. So there's those things. The grubs are supposed to then help. They're done by an early settler, Ted Tuberman, who thinks we don't really need dragons. Here's how we can do Thread. We can just protect the land with these grubs. And then they think, okay, we've got dragons to protect us. Then volcanoes happen, and they realize all of a sudden now that this southern continent is too risky. It's not safe enough. So they take what they can, and they go north. And it's around that time that we start to move on to the third pass books. And it's the third pass books that quite a few are written with her son, and he wrote a few. The third pass books can be tough to read. They're a lot on the darker side. There's a lot of death, disease, and plague. Let's just put it that way. There's also a lot of jumping, going between times, and that can be in itself a bit confusing. Um, Usually, they're very good about what chapter is taking place, like when, what what turn of the fall it is, what the year is. So we know where these things are falling. But there are likable characters. It's just dark, and you know if you can make it through the third series, the third pass books, then you're really sort of home. I mean, because then there's really only two novels in the sixth pass and a short story. I think she could have done more with the sixth pass. I think when you have like a character like Marita, who does what she does and becomes the hero that she is to be to Lessa, that more could have been done with her. A lot more than just two books, and really only one book on her, because the other one's Narilka's story, which is more from a non-dragon perspective. The short story is basically Marita caught in between, and why she's caught in between. Waiting for the dragon she's riding, waiting for her rider, and waiting for her dragon. So there could have been. I thought the sixth pass could have been so much better than the third if they would have, I think, focused a little bit more on that. Now, then again, they might have put in more disease and plague and death and made that darker. I don't know. But I think the sixth pass books could have. I think if you added more to it, it could have added to the series. Then comes the meat and potatoes, the ninth pass books, where the main characters are the Bend and Weir leaders, Flar and Lessa. And obviously, these were the characters that were near and dear to Anne's heart. And she really didn't want anybody to finish their story except her. Unfortunately, she didn't get the chance to. There's a lot of things still hanging at the end of the Skies of Pern, which you can go back and check the video before this. And if you want to get the individual books and what they're about, you can check out the past videos. I did them, like I said, in chronological order. I thought publication order would be just a little bit different. It would be too much to kind of go back and forth. So I went chronological order to give me the timeline and make it make more sense, which it does. But we learn a lot of things in the ninth pass. I mean, we've learned obviously through the third and the sixth passes that Pern has lost much of the technology that the ancients had. In fact, they don't even really know anything about the ancients. They don't really know much about the southern continent. They're too busy in the north. They're settled in the north. And south has basically been barred. You're not going to south. Then they start to discover south a little bit more, and they start to dig, and they start to come up with things that the ancestors had. Avis, the artificial intelligence system, the voice system, the computer that can give them all this different all the different technology that the ancients had, and how they got here, and the kind of world that they wanted, which was agrarian. They wanted more agriculture. They didn't want the massive technology that Earth had become and the surrounding planets had become. They wanted to get far enough away from war that they came to Pern and thought Pern was good until Thread. And then they designed the dragons and engineered them. But like I said, by the third and sixth pass, a lot of that's gone. The dragons are still there, obviously, but a lot of the knowledge that the ancients knew is gone. It's Florin. It's the ninth pass books that really give us that, and Lessa becomes a legend in herself. In the ninth pass, there's only Bend and Weir. The other 5 Weirs are they're empty. They've been left. Oh, they've been just left, abandoned. Kind of much like the South Continent, just abandoned. Um, and there's a question song that the Harpers teach about, where did the Weir folk go? And Lessa, she takes a chance. I mean, she's got the only queen. She's the only queen rider. And she goes back 400 turns and convinces the other 5 Weirs, come forward with me. We're in the midst of a fall. We're in the midst of a pass, and we can't do it alone, which is what we have to do right now. So she brings them all along, and now all of a sudden you've got 6 full Weirs. And these were people that they were in an interval. They were getting bored. The dragons were getting bored. They want to, they were meant to fight threat. So the opportunity to go forward and take on more thread and earn more prestige appealed to them. The only problem was Pern of 400 years later is a lot different than it was from what they knew. Lord holders were a little bit more suspicious of Weirs and didn't tie it as much. And Dragon Riders couldn't just go and take what they wanted the way that they could when these old-timers, they call them, were in their prime. Society had changed. And society continues to change throughout the Ninth Pass as they discover the technology of the ancients. And, they're able to start putting up, like, telescopes. Medicine, they're able to develop, to relearn how to do surgical procedures. How to grow different things, and just how to make life better, how to expand life, even the lifespan. And there are people who don't like all of this. It thumbs its nose in tradition, and they don't like it. They're the abominators, and they want to basically take out all the technology that Avis had gave the people at Landing. The way the series kind of ends is there's one abominator still out there. At least one out of 5 or 6 that were like ringleaders. And we find out she's with Torek at the end of the Skies of Pern, and they know. It's just now they got to keep tabs on her. And I'm thinking, Anne probably would have had her get caught. Torek would have had his downfall, like everybody wanted. But it didn't happen in the Skies of Pern. She didn't get a chance to write another book after that. She wasn't able to finish the Ninth Pass off the way I think the rest of us would have liked to see it off. But overall, as a series, I liked it. The third pass, I think, was a challenge. Especially the books that Todd, her son, wrote. Those were just not easy reads, not from this perspective that they were hard to follow or hard to understand. Besides all the jumping between times, that could throw you off a little bit, but just the darkness of it. I think that was just, a little too much. For me, at least. But the first and the Ninth Pass books, I think, bookend the series very, very, very well, as I said in the beginning. And I think, this to me was something this was a series that I tried reading back in the 4th grade, with Dragonflight being the first book I attempted, and it went right over my head. I had no idea what was going on, so it took me this long to kind of rediscover it and give it a try. And going through all these books, I mean, I thought it was a good series, and I'm going to give it a 4.7 out of 5, which is really good. Like I said, I think the third pass brings it down a little, and I think the fact that not more was done with the 6th pass brings it down a little bit. I think the 6th pass could have been so much more than just the 2 books. So, yeah, a 4.7 for the whole series. I would recommend it, especially if you like dragons. If you like if you're looking for books that have a lot of war or a lot of fighting, these are not for you. There's not that. The challenges to Pern are within. They're not coming from without. There's not like enemy invaders coming, or there's not like militias that attack and do this, that, and the other, and we have all these interplanetary wars. There's none of that. Threat is the main threat, the main enemy to the Pyrenees. So if you're looking for something that has a lot of war, a lot of violence, these aren't for you. But if you're looking for well-written, well-crafted stories, then yeah, I think you would like these. And again, for me, 4.7 out of 5. I enjoyed the series, and I'm going to miss it, actually. So yeah, with that, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos are coming out. Because they come out whenever I finish a book. Also, leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you, and I always respond. Any questions or any thoughts that you have. Also, spread the word. It helps me out. I appreciate you. I appreciate you watching the videos. I appreciate your support. And it helps make me do this. I mean, the main reason I do this is because I like talking about the books. But I also like doing this to kind of reach you guys and see if maybe this might be something that you might want to read down the road for you. So, yeah. With that, then, until next time, as always, keep YouTube literate, and God bless.